Hello, my dear chess friends. My name is Alex. I am from Ukraine. I'm a professional chess coach, and today I want to tell you some words about the Zukertort system, a solid attacking system for white. This system of development is named after Johannes Zukertort, an Austrian chess player who lived in the 19th century. This chess master is mostly famous because of he played the first World Championship match against his compatriot Wilhelm Steinitz. So the Zukertort system begins after d4, d5, knight f3, knight f6, e3, e6, bishop d3, c5, b3. White prevents the move c5, c4, attacking the white square bishop on d3, and prepares the developing his bishop on b2. In the future, play two white bishops would be very useful in attack of the black king. So we see that if the dark square bishop is standing on b2, it will be taken along the long dark diagonal. So bishop on d3 will attack on this diagonal. White developed his pieces in a such way. Let me show you. So they move their dark square bishop on b2, castle king side, knight f3 e5, then knight b1 d2, then the f3 square, white rook and white queen will use for going on the king side in such way. For rook f1 f3 and then rook h3, or for queen d1 f3 and then queen f3 h3. So this solid and very useful attacking scheme. Then we will see how these games in this system can be developed. Let us consider some variations that show the potential of white's attack. For example, b6, bishop b2, bishop e7, castle kingside, knight b d2, bishop b7, knight e5, knight c6, a3. It's a very important positional move. White prevents move of black's knight from c6 to b4, attacking the white square bishop on d3. So it's very important to move the pawn. Queen c7, a4, rook a c8. Black wants to attack the c2 pawn, rook f3 and knight d7. In this position, this move is very big blunder, because this knight have to stay on f6 and protect his king. For example, this knight very good protecting f7 pawn and the f6 pawn by himself along the f line. So if knight goes to d7, we can see the standard combination, sacrificing the bishop on h7, check. King takes h7, rook h3, king g8, and queen h5. Mate on squares h7 and h8 in this position is unstoppable, and white wins. Let's consider other variations. For example, black can also play on the fifth move, knight bd7 instead of b6. So white develops his pieces in a good scheme. Bishop b2, bishop e7, castle kingside, knight bd2, b6, knight e5, bishop b7. So we see that the kingside knight is standing on not on c6 but on d7 in this variation. Queen f3, rook c8, queen h3, knight takes e5. White threatened to win a pawn after e6, for example, exchanging on d7 and c5, as we see. Because of b takes c5 is very bad. Taken on f6, exchange and mate on h7. So black has to lose a pawn in this variation. Knight takes e5, d takes e5, knight e4. Rook ad1, knight g5, queen h5, g6 attacking queen, queen goes to e2, queen c7, c4, f5, f4, knight e4, taken on d5, taken on d5, exchanging on e4, and check on c4. Then king h8, and in this position, fantastic move, rook d7. Black has to take, and e6, discovered check. Black loses a queen. Another variation, another option for black after b3, he can move his bishop on e7, preparing kingside castle. Kingside castle for black and for white, knight bd2, knight bd7, knight bd2, b6, knight e5, exchanging on e5, knight d6, f4, bishop b7, queen h5, g6 and queen h3. It's a very strong move in this position. White moves his queen out of a danger and also prevents the move f7, f6 because of weakness on a6. b5, for example, very interesting move. Bishop takes b5, queen a5, attacking the bishop and the knight. It's a forced variation, exchanging knights, rook f2 protecting c2 pawn and attacking queen. Queen has to go, a3, another attack of queen. Queen has to go, and f5. White begins to attack the black king. So it's f6 threat and queen h6 and queen g7. So black has to take. If they take by e6 pawn, then it will be, for example, e6 clearing the diagonal, and it's queen h6 threat. So black has to take with g pawn and rook f5. Nice rook sacrifice, e takes f5, bishop takes f5, threaten mate. So black has to move his pawn to h6, protecting queen. e6, bishop g5, protecting pawn, and bishop f6, decoying the bishop from g5. If black move his bishop to f6, taking white bishop, it leads to mate. Taking on h6, rook f e8, check, king f8, and queen takes f7, mate. So black has to take on e6 with a pawn. Bishop takes e6, rook f6. If king goes to h7, then queen f5, it's a mate. So rook f6, bishop takes g5, hg, rook f1. So we can see that rook on f7 is pinned, and it's bishop f7 threat. So black has to protect this rook on f7. Rook f6. It's bishop f7 threat and taken on b6. So it's a very dangerous position for black because of another threat is mate on g6. And in this position, black has to resign. So we see that the Zukertort system is a very promising development system for white. You can play in a such a way against different moves from black. You just put your one bishop on d3, then you put your bishop on b2, after b2, b3, then you castle on king side, moving your knight to d2, another knight in the center square. Not forget to play a2, a3 if black knight goes to c6 and threatening to exchange the bishop. And then you play f4, play rook f3 and rook h3, or queen f3 and queen h3, attacking black's king. I think that this opening is very useful for white, and you liked it very much. Thank you for your attention.